If you're a doctor, a nurse, or an allied health professional, stop. Do not hit submit on your UAE licensing application until you've watched this video. Every single day, I see brilliant, highly qualified professionals get their dreams crushed. Not because they aren't smart, but because they treat the Unified Healthcare Professional Qualification Requirements, or the PQR, like it's just a set of instructions. It's not. It's the law. I'm Abrick, licensing consultant with Felix Happich Consultancy. I've spent years navigating the DOH, DHA, MOH, and SHJ systems. In this video, we aren't just skimming the 2025 PQR. We're dissecting it. We are going to turn your application from a hopeful submission into an unignorable success. To understand the PQR, you have to understand its origin. Its authority is rooted in Federal Decree Law No. 4 of 2016 concerning medical liability, and more specifically, Cabinet Decision No. 7 of 2020, which provides the executive regulations for that law. Why does this matter to you? Because Article 3 of Federal Law No. 4 mandates that no person may practice a health profession in the UAE without a license issued by the relevant health authority. But the law doesn't stop there. It requires that the license only be granted to those who meet the standard of professional competence. The PQR is the document that legally defines what competence looks like. It is the unified standard agreed upon by the Ministry of Health and Prevention, or MOHAP, the Department of Health in Abu Dhabi, and the Dubai Health Authority, or DHA. When you read the PQR, you are reading the criteria that the UAE government has legally sanctioned to protect its population. If you want to know why your colleagues are getting rejected while you're still waiting for a response, it's because they're missing the constitution of UAE healthcare. Let's get to work. Many people will tell you that it's just a manual. They'll say it's a set of instructions you can skim. But I'm here to tell you that this perspective is the single most common reason why talented professionals get their applications delayed, their dreams deferred, or their careers halted entirely. Think about what a constitution does for a nation. It outlines the absolute requirements for order and standing. That is exactly what the PQR does for UAE healthcare. It is the final word. Whether you're applying to the Dubai Health Authority, the Department of Health in Abu Dhabi, the Ministry of Health, or the Sharjah Health Authority, you are not engaging in a conversation with a person. You are submitting yourself to be audited against the uncompromising standards for this specific document. For years, the licensing landscape in the UAE was a fragmented puzzle. If you go back in time, different emirates had different expectations. The unified PQR was created to fix that, to create a singular, immovable standard of excellence so that every patient in the UAE, regardless of which clinic they walk into, is treated by a professional vetted against one benchmark. This 2025 edition is a recalibration. The healthcare landscape is evolving, and the regulators have adjusted their risk tolerance. If you choose to ignore these updates because you're relying on word-of-mouth advice from colleagues who were licensed 3 years ago, you are making a dangerous mistake. Regulatory bodies are dynamic. They are looking for reasons to filter out the noise. Today, I'm going to show you how to ensure that you are the signal, not the noise. In this masterclass, we're going to move beyond the surface. We're going to look at the architecture of the application, the gap of practice rules that catch seasoned professionals off guard, and why the regulators are now so laser-focused on the integrity of your educational history. But first, you have to accept the reality. The PQR is not a suggestion. It is the law. And your first step to success is to stop treating it as a checklist and start treating it as your professional blueprint. Now, let's get into the technical architecture. If you want to bypass the rejection pile, you must master what I call the 5 critical checkpoints of your application. First, educational qualifications. Stop assuming your degree is automatically accepted just because it's from a prestigious university. The PQR is increasingly rigid regarding theoretical versus clinical exposure. They aren't just looking for a degree. They are looking for evidence of on-site clinical hours. If your transcripts don't reflect that, you will face a challenge. Verify your specific curriculum against the PQR standards before you commit to the application. Second, the engine of the entire system. Primary Source Verification, or PSV. Don't make the mistake of waiting for the board to start your verification. That's a waste of months. You need to be the one driving this. Ensure your university and your past employers are ready to respond to these requests immediately. If your credentials aren't verified, your application is invisible to the evaluators. Third, the gap of practice. If you have been out of clinical practice for 3 years or more, you are entering a specific regulated pathway. The PQR mandates bridge training, CME credits, or supervised clinical hours to ensure your skills haven't rusted. But you must be aware of the hard limits. Under Section 1.7.6, the rules are absolute. In general, non-UAE nationals will not be able to apply for a license if they have a gap of practice of more than 5 years. For UAE nationals and children of Emirati women, that limit is 10 years. Trying to hide a career break is a massive mistake. The regulators have the data, and they will find it. If you have a gap, don't ignore it. Do not wait until you are ready to submit to find out that you have crossed that 5-year threshold. Look at the requirements today and start your CME or clinical training immediately so you have the necessary documentation ready when you apply. Fourth, professional experience. This isn't just about time served. The PQR looks for active, relevant practice. You need to be able to demonstrate that your work experience matches the scope of the license you are applying for. If your CV doesn't clearly articulate what you were doing in those clinical years, you are leaving your approval to chance. Fifth, and perhaps most important for my veteran colleagues, is exam exemption. Many of you have years of experience and naturally ask, Abrick, do I really need to sit for another exam? The PQR does have pathways for exemption, but they are incredibly narrow. The criteria for an exemption are just as strict as the criteria for a license itself. You have to prove that your credentials and your standing in your home country hold the same weight as the local standards. Do not assume that you are exempt. Look at the exam equivalency section and treat it as a formal application within your application. Master these 5 checkpoints and you stop being just another applicant. You become a professional who understands the regulatory framework. Now that we've covered the philosophy and the technical pillars, but here is where most people still get lost. They treat the PQR like a general guide for everyone. It isn't. I call this the compass strategy. You need to stop reading the entire document and focus exclusively on your chapter. Whether you're a physician in Chapter 1, a nurse in Chapter 3, or an allied health professional in Chapter 4, your specific requirements are clearly mapped. For the physicians, this is about the tier system, proving your credentials meet the rigorous requirements for a GP, specialist, or consultant. For the nurses, it's about proving your clinical bedside hours. For allied health, it's about ensuring your job description aligns perfectly with your degree. If you try to apply a physician's logic to a nursing application, you are going to get flagged. Use the table of contents on page 2 to jump directly to your specialty and read the requirements and considerations section of your specific role first. That is your compass. Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with what I call the consultant's checklist. This is the mental map you should use every time you open this document. First, validation. Before you even draft an application, cross-reference your specific degree against the educational qualifications section in page 10. If there's any doubt about your degree's accreditation, do not proceed until you have confirmed its status. And honestly, if you aren't 100% sure, don't guess. Send your degree and your transcripts to us at Felix Happich Consultancy. We provide a credential assessment where we check your qualifications against the PQR criteria before you invest weeks of effort or risk an application that might be rejected. It is the best investment you can make in your career security. Second, consistency. Ensure your CV, your experience certificates, and your license history are perfectly aligned. Any discrepancy, even a typo in a date, is a signal for the regulator to pause and investigate. Third, proactivity. Don't wait for the authority to tell you your PSV is missing. Don't wait for them to point out a gap in your practice. If you see that your career break exceeds their threshold for automatic approval, don't try to hide it. Start your bridge training, your CME, or your clinical hours today so you have the documentation ready when you apply. The UAE is a place that rewards those who are prepared. When you finally receive that license, you aren't just getting a document. You are getting proof that you have met the unified high-level standards of one of the most advanced healthcare systems in the world. But I know, even with this masterclass, the path can feel overwhelming. If you are stuck on a specific page, or if you aren't sure how to interpret a clause for your specific specialty, this is what we do at Felix Happich Consultancy. We don't just read the PQR. We map your specific professional profile against it to ensure your application is airtight before it ever hits the regulator's desk. If you found this masterclass helpful, hit the like button and subscribe. In our next video, we are going to do a deep dive into the general requirements for UAE licensure. We will break down the exact submission sequence so you can avoid the most common deficiency notices that stop applicants in their tracks. Don't let your application be a guess. Let it be a strategy. I'm Abrick, and I'll see you in the next one.